Some weeks back, when we were on page 655, we read Death saying to Savitri, "If truth dwells with mortal men, or if she's dwelling with you, show me the body of the living truth, or draw for me the outline of her face, that I too may obey and worship her. Then will I give thee back thy Shraddhavan." So since then, we've been listening to Savitri. She has revealed something of her goddess self. As she spoke, her goddess self grew visible in her eyes. And she has, over these pages in between, from page 655 to 663, she has, in her long speech, she's given a wonderful overview of the truth of the cosmos. Starting from Death himself, she tells him what he is, what is his place in the scheme of things. And she speaks about the one from whom everything comes. And step by step, she has shown us the planes above mind. And finally, the last time we met, not last week, the week before, we read her description of the truth world, the supermind. That starts on page 661, and it's full 2 pages. But now she's going to round off her speech to death. The timeless looks out from the traveling hours. The ineffable puts on a robe of speech, where all its words are woven like magic threads, moving with beauty, inspiring with their gleam. And every thought takes up its destined place, recorded in the memory of the world. The truth supreme, vast and impersonal, fits faultlessly the hour and circumstance. Its substance, a pure gold, ever the same, but shaped into vessels for the Spirit's use. Its gold becomes the wine jar and the vase. All there is a supreme epiphany. The all-wonderful makes a marvel of each event. The all-beautiful is a miracle in each shape. The all-blissful smites with rapture the heart's throbs. A pure celestial joy is the use of sense. Each being there is a member of the self, a portion of the million-thoughted all, a claimant to the timeless unity, the many's sweetness, the joy of difference, edged with the intimacy of the one. But who can show to thee truth's glorious face? Our human words can only shadow her. To thought, she is an unthinkable rapture of light. To speech, a marvel inexpressible. O death, if thou couldst touch the truth supreme, thou wouldst grow suddenly wise and cease to be. If our souls could see and love and clasp God's truth, its infinite radiance would seize our hearts. Our being in God's image be remade, and earthly life become the life divine. So I'll pause there. And Savitri is describing the truth world, the supramental world, to death. Suresh, you will begin.
The timelessness looks out from the travelling hours. The ineffable puts on the rope of speech, where all its words are woven like magic threads, moving with beauty, inspiring with the
gleam.
And every thought talks of its distant place, recorded in the memory of the world.
Yes. So this is how things are in the truth world. The timeless, that being, transcendent being who is beyond time. In that truth world, he is present there, looking out through the hours. So one of the things about that world is that it reconciles timelessness and time. The ineffable, it's another word for the supreme, the one who cannot be expressed, who cannot be put into words. We can't say anything about him. We call him the ineffable, who cannot be expressed. But there, he puts on a robe, he puts on a covering of speech. That robe is a robe of words, and those words are woven like magic threads, and so they glimmer and they move us with their beauty, with that shining light. Those words inspire us. And in that world, every thought takes up its destined place, and it's recorded there in the memory of the world. There's something permanent about it. So these are qualities of that place, this reconciliation or harmonization of things that to the mind are opposites, time and timeless, what is ineffable and what can be expressed. And another quality is that everything is in its place and is kept safe there. Bhavan.
The true supreme, vast and impersonal, fits always into the hour and circumstance. Its substance of good or ever the same, as made into the earth for the spirit's use, which gold becomes the divine there and now.
Thank you. So truth there is active. It's vast and impersonal, but it organizes everything faultlessly. It fits the hour and the circumstance. Everything is perfectly in harmony. And the substance that we value so much, that we call gold, that is, of course, a very good symbol for the substance of truth, because gold doesn't decay, doesn't rust or spoil, it remains pure, no? So its substance is a pure gold, ever the same. But that substance can be shaped into containers, into vessels that the spirit can use. So that gold, the pure substance of truth, it becomes, for example, a jar to hold the wine of delight, or a vase in which beautiful flowers can be arranged. Sarojini.
All that is a supreme infinite, the all wonderful makes a marvel of each event. The all beautiful is a miracle in each step. The all blissful
Smites.
with rapture the heart's throb. What celestial joy is the use of sense.
Yes. So these descriptions, the all wonderful, the all beautiful, the all blissful, these are wonderful names that we can give to our beloved Lord. No? He's present there in that world, and through his quality of wonder, he makes every event, everything that happens there, he makes it into something wonderful, a marvel. He uses his power of beauty so that every shape is miraculously beautiful, every form in that world. And his power of blissfulness means that the hearts of the beings there are throbbing all the time with intense bliss. There are senses there, like we have our physical senses that we use to inform ourselves about the world around us, through contact. There, just a pure celestial joy, a pure heavenly delight. That is what the senses are used for. Gumsun.
Each being there is a member of the self, a portion of the million soul to the all, the climate to the kindness and beauty, the medicine sweetness, the joy of the ethers, achieved with the intimacy of the one.
Yes, this is a very concise way of putting something which is characteristic of that supramental consciousness. Every individual being there is a member, a part. We have members, this is ourselves, but we have parts, no? There, every individual being is a member, a part of the one self, a portion of the all, in which there's the one self, the one in his oneness, but there's also the one expressing himself as the all, as the many, as all the many, many forms and thoughts of the universe. So each individual being is also a portion of the many-thoughted all, and at the same time is a claimant to the timeless unity, the timeless oneness. So the consciousness there, it unites all these different possibilities. The sweetness and delight of being many, the joy of difference, but that is edged, it's given a special flavor and intensity because of this awareness of all these different beings really being one, all part of the same oneness.
Claimant means one who claims.
One who has the right to claim, yes.
Some such expression is somewhere as a one be and he had somewhere else also a
Yes, in one of Sri Aurobindo's aphorisms, he has said that the fulfillment of all our experience in the universe, it will be like a honeycomb. The honeycomb is where the bees store their honey. So in the honeycomb, there are many, many separate cells. Each of them is full of honey. So he said it's like a honeycomb in which every drop of honey has the joy of feeling all the other drops of honey, as if all those drops had a slightly different taste, being able to taste all the different flavors of all the different drops of honey, and at the same time feeling its own oneness and the oneness of the whole. And the honeycomb can feel that it is containing all this and enjoying all the different experiences of all the different drops. I've not put it as beautifully as Sri Aurobindo puts it. Next time I'll see if I can bring you that beautiful aphorism. Ganga Lakshmi.
But who can show the truth's glorious face? Our human words can only show her. The thought, she is an unthinkable rapture of light, to speech a marvel inexpressible.
Yes. He had told her, show me truth's face. She says, who can show you the glorious face of truth? If I speak about her, our human words can only give a faint shadow of her. The thought, our thought cannot grasp her. She is an unthinkable rapture of light. If we try to put her into speech, she's inexpressible. She can't be put into words because she is such a marvelous and special being, existence.
It's very interesting what Shraddhavan wrote, to speech a marvel inexpressible. It's incredible.
And we should remember that in this poem, Sri Aurobindo shows the Supreme Divine Mother as the truth. When Aswapati meets her, he calls her, "O truth, defended in thy secret Son." He worships her as the truth. And there are several other beautiful passages where he speaks about the inexpressibleness of the Supreme Truth, which is the law which holds everything together, but is only fully expressed or manifested in that supramental world where all the contradictions get reconciled. So she tells him, if you could touch the Supreme Truth, you would suddenly grow wise, you'd be illuminated with the wisdom, and you would cease to be, you wouldn't be death anymore. No? No? And for us human beings, if our souls could see and love and clasp, embrace God's truth, the radiance, the brilliant light, that infinite light of the truth would seize hold of our hearts, and that would have a transforming effect. Our whole being would get remade in God's image, and earthly life would become the life divine. So progressively that is what is happening. We're growing more and more and more into the truth of ourselves, and our world is becoming more and more true. Minati, would you read?
Then that the last time answered Savitri, if Truth Supreme transcends her shadow here, severed by knowledge and the climbing vasts, what breeze can cross the gulf that she has left?
Yes, now he's going to ask Savitri a series of questions. So, he says, if truth is so great, she goes beyond, she transcends what we think is truth here, this shadow, no, that is here. Here we are cut off from truth. Severed means cut by knowledge and the climbing vasts. There are so many levels of consciousness between us here in our world and truth in her truth world. She's cut off from us. So what bridge can cross that huge gulf that she has left between her own realm and her own self, and this dream world that she's made, that we live in? This is his first question. And then he asks another question. Dr. Palani, please.
Or who could hope to bring her down to men and persuade to strike the hard blow with wounded feet, leaving her unapproachable glory and bliss, resting her splendor on fair earthly air?
Yes. He says, if there's such a gap between us and that supreme truth, who could persuade truth? Who could hope to bring that truth down to human beings and persuade her to walk here on the earth? Surely her beautiful feet would be wounded. Again, we can think he's speaking about the Supreme Mother. Who's going to bring her down to earth, make her incarnate here? Wouldn't that be too terrible a thing for her? To leave her unapproachable glory and bliss, that state of glory and bliss that we can't reach, we can't even begin to approach it. And here in the earthly air, she'd be wasting all her beauty and her splendor. So how is that going to happen? How could that happen? He's again insisting on this unbridgeable gap between our human world and the divine world.
How this word living is connected here? No?
Leaving. Persuade her to leave her unapproachable glory and bliss, yeah, and tread this harsh globe. Joel, you read.
Is thine the strength, O beauty of mortal limbs, O soul who flutterest to escape my net? Whom then art thou, hiding in human guise? Thy voice carries the sound of infinity. Knowledge is with thee. Truth speaks through thy words. The light of things beyond shines in thy eyes.
So this is a change, isn't it? Yes. So he says, if you're telling me about the truth, do you have strength to bring that truth down here to earth? And then he speaks directly to Savitri. He says, oh, you are so beautiful in your human body. You are also a soul. A soul, he says, you're caught in my net of matter. And it's as if you're struggling to escape, like a butterfly or a bird caught in a net. So, who are you really, hiding in this human disguise? I hear your voice. It seems to have the sound of infinity. Knowledge is with thee. Truth speaks through thy words, and the light of things beyond shines in thy eyes. So he's really seen and experienced something. Yes, will you read?
But where is thy strength to come true? Thou kind that, as thou gods force to build the heavens, valleys, yet. For truth and knowledge are an idle mean. If knowledge brings not power to change the world, if might comes not to do the truth, right.
So this is a very important challenge, no? Have you got the power to change things fundamentally? Have you got the strength to overcome the passage of time, the process of death, of dissolution? Have you got God's strength? Are you able here on earth to build heaven's values, the values that prevail in the higher levels of consciousness? Because truth and knowledge are something in vain, an idle gleam. They are a light, but it's a light without any power, unless knowledge brings the power to change the world. Can you do that? No? If might, if strength doesn't come to give to truth her right, we often see that in our world, right or truth is not powerful enough to prevail. No? There are other powers that seem to be more powerful. So he's challenging Savitri on that. Can you do it?
Is it really so? The power of truth is not there?
Here, in our world, of course it has a certain power, but often we seem to see injustice happening, no? That such and such a thing, we think, how can it happen? How can it be like that? So it's as if the power of truth is not all powerful in our world. Other things have power. Unconsciousness, ignorance, ill will, even evil. No? They have power here. So that's in order for this world to become the world that Savitri is talking about. Very great changes have to come about. And he's asking her, can you do it? He doesn't believe that she can do it. Sonam, would you read?
A blind force, not truth, has made this ignorant world. A blind force, not truth, orders the lives of men. By power, not light, the great gods rule the world. Power is the arm of God, the seal of fate.
Yes. So he says a blind force, an unconscious force, an unconscious energy has made this ignorant world that we live in. That's not truth, no? It's an ignorant, a blind force. And that blind force organizes the way that human beings live in this world. It's not truth that's organizing. And he even says that the gods, the cosmic power, they rule the world by power, not by light. Power is the arm of God, the seal of fate. I don't know whether Sri Aurobindo would agree with him, but anyway, that's what he says. Sergei.
Of human climate to immortality, reveal thy power, lay bare thy spirit's force, then will I give back to the Shraddhavan. For if the mighty mother is with thee, show me her face, that I may worship her. Let deathless eyes look into the eyes of death, and imperishable force, touching eternal things, transform earth's death into immortal life.
Yes. So he says, you're a human being and you are claiming, it's this word claimant, we've got it again. You're claiming immortality. Show who you are. Reveal your power. Show the source of the strength of your spirit. Then I will give Shraddhavan back to you. Or if the mighty mother, the supreme truth, is with you, show me her face, that I may worship her. Let her deathless eyes look into the eyes of death. She must be an imperishable force, a force that cannot die. If that imperishable force touches all these crude things, these objects here on earth, then that's what can transform this process of death that rules on the earth. Then that can be transformed into immortal life. Oh, we don't know how serious he is. He's presenting her with a challenge, no? Yeah? Can you do it? Anandi.
Then can thy death return to thee and live? The prostrate egg, perhaps, shall lift her gaze, and feeling near her the secret of the God. Love and joy overtake, feeling and
Yes. It's only he says, only the mighty mother's power that can come, if that really touches things here on earth, transforms earth's death into immortal life, then Shraddhavan can return to you and live. And perhaps this prostrate earth, this earth which is at the very bottom of the universe, no? Perhaps she can look up and feel near her the secret body of God, the concrete, substantial presence of God. And then love and joy can overtake fleeing time. Time keeps moving, no? But maybe love and joy can catch up with him. Bhavana.
And Savitri looked on death and answered not. Almost it seemed as if in his simple shape the world's darkness had consented to heaven's light, and God needed no more the inconscious screen.
Yes, so some change has come over death also. Savitri looks at him. She doesn't reply, but it almost seems as if this symbol shape which he has put on, as if in that all the world's darkness had accepted, consented to receive the light of heaven, and as if that change of which he's talking, as if that had actually come about, that God no longer needs this screen of the inconscient, the inconscience of matter.
Why God will need the screen of inconscience?
Yes, why does he need it? He needs it for this play that he's decided to work out here in the material universe. It's as if he has decided to face himself with all his own opposites. His pure existence with this apparent non-existence of death, or all his luminous consciousness with the unconsciousness of matter, all his wonderful power with the helplessness of individual beings and forms in the material universe, and all his bliss turned into suffering, all the pain and incapacity that is experienced here. And as if from that starting point of complete separation and unconsciousness, then he wants to bring about gradually the change in everything. First in matter, to bring out consciousness in the form of life. And then in life, to bring out consciousness in the form of mental awareness. And then many further steps still, until in fact life on this earth and in this material universe becomes the same as this life in the truth world which Savitri has described. Does that make sense? It's as if it's a kind of game that God plays with himself. There's a Vedantic thinker in the United States, Alan Watts. He's quite well known. He's not a follower of Sri Aurobindo, but he's understood the Vedanta, I think. And he says, why? Well, think about it, he says. If you were omnipotent and omniscient and all blissful, could do anything you wanted, what would you do? He said, you would press the surprise button. surprise me, give me the unpredictable. So it's as if it's like that, facing himself with his own opposites, plunging into all that unconsciousness. Can he find himself back again? Can he rescue all his many, many souls? Is it going to work out? And how is it going to work itself out? It's a way of thinking about it. Martin.
A mighty transformation came on her. The halo of the indwelling deity, the immortal luster that had lit her face and tended its radiance in her body's house, overflowing, made the air a luminous sea.
So Savitri gets completely changed, a mighty transformation. A halo is that surrounding light around a divine being, no? Because dwelling within her is the divine. And already her face and her eyes had been lit up with that luster of the immortal, no? That had lit up her face. It had covered up its radiance like under a tent in her body. Now it all overflows and made the air around her a luminous sea. You'll read, Chuck?
In a flaming moment of apocalypse, the incarnation thrust aside its veil. A little figure in infinity yet stood and seemed the Eternal's very house, as if the world's center was her very soul.
One more line.
And all white space was but its outer world.
Yes. So that's how she appears now. In a flaming moment of apocalypse. Apocalypse is when the divine is fully revealed. So she is an incarnation. She has covered herself up with this human form. Now she thrusts aside that veil. She reveals herself. She stands there, a little figure in infinity, and yet she stood there and seemed the very house of the eternal, as if the eternal and infinite is dwelling in her body, and as if the center of the world was her very soul, and all wide space was just her, the outer robe of her soul. She shows herself as the center of the universe. So that beautiful description continues. We'll have a look at it next week. We had this word apocalypse here, and earlier we had the word epiphany. So the word epiphany, it is something similar to the meaning of the Indian word darshan. When the divine appears, shows itself to people. So in that world, in the supramental world, all there is a supreme epiphany. Everything reveals the divine presence. And apocalypse is when the truth of things is revealed, the truth of reality.
The timeless looks out from the travelling hours. The ineffable puts on a robe of speech, where all its words are woven like magic threads, moving with beauty, inspiring with their gleam. And every thought takes up its destined place, recorded in the memory of the world. The truth supreme, vast and impersonal, fits faultlessly the hour and circumstance. Its substance a pure gold, ever the same, but shaped into vessels for the Spirit's use. Its gold becomes the wine jar and the vase. All there is a supreme epiphany. The all-wonderful makes a marvel of each event. The all-beautiful is a miracle in each shape. The all-blissful smites with rapture the heart's throbs. A pure celestial joy is the use of sense. Each being there is a member of the self, a portion of the million-thoughted all, a claimant to the timeless unity. The many sweetness, the joy of difference, edged with the intimacy of the one. But who can show to thee truth's glorious face? Our human words can only shadow her. To thought, she is an unthinkable rapture of light, to speech a marvel inexpressible. O death, if thou couldst touch the truth supreme, thou wouldst grow suddenly wise and cease to be. If our souls could see and love and clasp God's truth, its infinite radiance would seize our hearts, our being in God's image be remade, and earthly life become the life divine. Then death the last time answered Savitri. If truth supreme transcends her shadow here, severed by knowledge and the climbing vasts, what bridge can cross the gulf that she has left between her and the dream world she has made? Or who could hope to bring her down to men, and persuade to tread the harsh globe with wounded feet, leaving her unapproachable glory and bliss, wasting her splendor on pale earthly air? Is thine that strength, O beauty of mortal limbs? O soul, who flutterest to escape my net? Who then art thou, hiding in human guise? Thy voice carries the sound of infinity. Knowledge is with thee. Truth speaks through thy words. The light of things beyond shines in thy eyes. But where is thy strength to conquer time and death? Hast thou God's force to build heaven's values here? For truth and knowledge are an idle gleam, if knowledge brings not power to change the world, if might comes not to give to truth her right. A blind force, not truth, has made this ignorant world. A blind force, not truth, orders the lives of men. By power, not light, the great gods rule the world. Power is the arm of God, the seal of fate. O human claimant to immortality, reveal thy power, lay bare thy spirit's force. Then will I give back to thee Shraddhavan. Or if the mighty Mother is with thee, show me her face, that I may worship her. Let deathless eyes look into the eyes of death. An imperishable force, touching brute things, transform earth's death into immortal life. Then can thy dead return to thee and live. The prostrate earth perhaps shall lift her gaze and feel near her the secret body of God, and love and joy overtake fleeing time. And Savitri looked on death and answered not. Almost it seemed as if in his symbol shape the world's darkness had consented to heaven light, and God needed no more the inconscient screen. A mighty transformation came on her. A halo of the indwelling deity, the immortal's luster that had lit her face and tinted its radiance in her body's house, overflowing, made the air a luminous sea. In a flaming moment of apocalypse, the incarnation thrust aside its veil. A little figure in infinity yet stood and seemed the Eternal's very house, as if the world's centre was her very soul, and all wide space was but its outer row.